Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to English Digest. And today, as promised last time, we're going to continue talking about dinosaurs.
We learned some things about dinosaurs. First of all, they lived a long, long time ago in something called the Mesozoic era. And we've also learned that they're almost exclusively animals that live on land. They're land-dwelling. In fact, if you've seen some prehistoric creatures that could fly or lived in the water, those aren't considered dinosaurs. Those are reptiles. I always called them all dinosaurs, to be honest. And they have different types of hips. So you can tell what kind of dinosaur it is based on their hips. Some dinosaurs have hips like lizards, and some dinosaurs have hips like birds, but much bigger. We also learned what dinosaurs are not, or were not.
Yeah, they weren't all huge. We did have a couple of huge ones like sauropods and T-Rexes. But also we talked about the fact that they weren't all slow and stupid. There were lots of smaller ones. And, of course, they also moved in groups. They had highly developed social behavior. And also they were pretty smart. They weren't really dumb and stupid, okay?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know how they can tell that stuff from just looking at fossils, but I guess they can. And today we're going to find out about some specific species of dinosaurs. Be careful here because the names of dinosaurs almost always use the zoological classification, which is always in Latin. And native English speakers, I would say, probably don't know how to pronounce these words. Probably most people don't know how to pronounce these words unless somebody tells them. And in fact, before we, read our lesson today, we had to look these words up to try to figure out how to say them.
Some of them, yeah.
I never studied Latin before. It's a dead language. Unless you're Catholic or something, you might want to study Latin. But yeah, we've got the Latin terms here, so we'll talk about those as our program continues. So let's get to it. Let's learn about some species of dinosaur. Let's listen to our article now one time. Triceratops horridus. Period, late Cretaceous, 66 million years ago. Length, 9 meters. This plant-eating dinosaur is identifiable by its 3 long facial horns and prominent head frill. These features might have evolved for defense against predators, but some have suggested they could have instead played a role in mating displays, similar to how deer use their antlers today. Tyrannosaurus rex. Period, late Cretaceous, 66 million years ago. Length, 12 meters. The tyrant lizard king lived up to its terrifying name. This notorious dinosaur's jaws could crunch through bone. It's still fiercely debated whether T-Rex was mainly a hunter or scavenger, but we do know its keen sense of smell allowed it to locate prey easily. Stegosaurus stenops. Period, late Jurassic, 150 million years ago. Length, 9 meters. This dinosaur's spiky tail would have been useful for self-defense, but its most noticeable trait is the double row of bony plates along its spine. Whether these were used for protection from other dinosaurs or regulated the animal's body temperature, scientists are not yet certain. Argentinosaurus wiculensis. Period, mid to late Cretaceous, 92 million years ago. Length, 35 meters. The longest and largest land animal to ever live, this sauropod was discovered when a farmer in Argentina found one of its leg bones. It was so gigantic that the man thought he'd found a petrified log instead. This plant-eating giant probably had a swaying walk and maximum speed of 8 kilometers per hour.
Okay, so today, guys, we're going to focus on some specific dinosaurs that you can get to know a little better. Now, the first one is my favorite. The Triceratops, that is a dinosaur that was plant-eating. So I always thought, oh, this is probably a nicer dinosaur, not such a mean one. And this dinosaur lived back in the late Cretaceous period. That was 66 million years ago. Its length is 9 meters. That's not really big, right? That's big, but not huge, massive.
Well, it's bigger than me.
Definitely tall, though. This plant-eating dinosaur is identifiable by its 3 long facial horns. Now, we've got the rhino that's got the 1 horn, on his neck or his nose there. This one has 3. So it sounds like it could look pretty fierce and pretty scary, but don't worry. They really only wanted to eat plants. And it had a prominent head frill. A frill is something kind of decorative, kind of ornamental. You might want to put some frills on your outfit, ladies. Maybe you want to go buy something that's sparkly or something that adds a little bit of excitement or a little dash of something to your outfit by buying some frills. So frill is countable. This is something that is just kind of a decorative thing on this particular dinosaur's head. It's kind of interesting. It's prominent, though. Prominent means you can't miss it. It's very visible. We'll often use prominent to describe someone who has something that stands out, or could be like a prominent nose. Or you could say someone is prominent, meaning they're important or famous. Oh, he's a prominent lawyer or a prominent politician. Everyone knows who that is. So, yeah, prominent can be used in different ways. But here in particular, just means it's very visible. It's very noticeable. You can't miss it.
Like Taipei 101, it's a prominent building in Taipei. Or my father was a member of the city council in my hometown, so he was a prominent member of the city council. He proposed putting a 4-way stop intersection next to the post office. That was a really great act of legislation there.
You have a very small town.
It's very, very small indeed. I think they had to beg him to be a member of the city council, actually. But in any case here, yes, this head frill was quite noticeable. It stuck out, so it's one of its characteristics. Again, this dinosaur is identifiable by these features. That's how you can tell which dinosaur is which. You can identify their different features. Now, these features might have evolved for defense against predators, but some have suggested they could have instead played a role in mating displays, similar to how deer use their antlers today. So again, we're talking about this prominent head frill. Why did this dinosaur have this feature? Well, some scientists have suggested, well, maybe they had this feature for a mating ritual. Of course, moose, have the big antlers. They don't really need them, but they have them to impress the girls. Just like humans, men will buy expensive cars to impress the ladies or whatever. So that's what dinosaurs perhaps did. They had these big head frills, and the girls would go, wow, I want to go out on a date with him.
Right. Now, it says these features might have evolved. To evolve, guys, is one of our vocabulary words. It's a verb that means to change or develop gradually over time. So it starts out in one form, and then over time, it gradually changes. So maybe when you first start, you're a pretty bad snow skier. You're not very good on your skis, but your skills evolve over time as you get better and better through practice. So, yeah, these features might have evolved for defense against predators. Predators are other animals that are trying to hunt and kill you, probably for food. So they had, even though these Triceratops didn't like to hunt and kill other dinosaurs for food, they liked plants. Of course, other dinosaurs probably looked at the Triceratops and went, yummy. So they did have their own predators, and those horns would have helped protect against their predators. So that's a good thing. But like Tom said, sometimes these distinguishing characteristics that they had were just for, were to impress the ladies so they could get a better girlfriend, better wife.
Yeah, I guess it's the horns that were more impressive and also maybe the head frill. So there you have the Triceratops horridus. Okay, I hope I said that right. And now let's talk about the mama, the big dinosaur, the one that everybody thinks about when
the big dog.
Yeah, the big one, the head honcho of the dinosaurs. The T-Rex, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which of course, again, featured in pretty much all the Jurassic Park movies. And, well, this one lived during the late Cretaceous era, which, again, was the third part of the Mesozoic era. 66 million years ago. It was quite long. Its length was 12 meters. And here we have a translation of the name here. Tyrannosaurus means tyrant, lizard, king. Okay, that's what it means. But we often shorten that to T-Rex. And it lived up to its terrifying name. Okay, this is an interesting phrase here, to live up to your name. That just means you basically have the characteristics that your name suggests that you have, okay? When I was younger, I had the nickname of Spider because my arms were long and I was able to play basketball really well. So yes, I lived up to my nickname of Spider because, hey, I looked like a spider out there on the basketball court. And in this case, we're saying that this dinosaur lived up to its name. It indeed was a tyrant lizard king.
Right, they're describing this particular dinosaur as being notorious. If something's notorious, it's famous or well-known. But usually it's famous for doing bad things or being a bad dude or having bad qualities. So notorious isn't an adjective you want to use for someone who's very kind and obedient and always does the right things. Usually notorious is used to describe gangsters and criminals who are very famous in history for doing bad things. Well, the T-Rex is really terrifying, and it's notorious for its jaws. Those jaws can crunch through bone. It's very hard to actually crunch through bone if you think about it. So those jaws must have been very, very strong.
Yeah, bone here refers more to the material that the bones are made out of. You can count this word bones. I feel it down in my bones that I want to be your friend. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's now have a listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天还要继续带大家来看看恐龙。今天要介绍4种还蛮有名的恐龙哦。第一种是三角龙。好，我们接下来在介绍恐龙的时候啊，会特别注意一下它是哪一个时期 period， 还有它的身长 length 有多长。不过 period 这个字哦，我们说它是一段时间嘛，所以当然它也有指的是某个时期的意思。可是还有几个其他的意思我们可以特别注意一下。比如说假设英文课一个礼拜有5节，我们可以说 We have 5 periods of English a week。 那么另外一个意思就是女生的生理期咯，所以有一些生理期可能会疼痛，那么英文会说 period pains。Period pains。 那么最常用的大概就是英文老师说的，你这里要放个句点 period， 在英文当中的句点也用 period。 好，所以不啰嗦，我们赶快看第一个三角龙。当然如果要辨识它，就是要透过它脸上有3个长角，还有突出的 prominent 一个头盾。那么辨识这个字本来动词用的是 identify I-D-E-N-T-I-F-Y， 不过在句子当中用的是形容词 identifiable， be identifiable by something， 借由什么什么来区隔。那么接下来我们看到第二句，这些特征啊，待会会一直不断的出现，所以其实英文当中除了 feature 之外，甚至还可以用 trait T-R-A-I-T， 或者是 characteristic。 好，接着呢，这个特征呢，其实他们已经演化，其实是为了防御天敌啦。有些人是这么说。那演化这个字的动词叫做 evolve，E-V-O-L-V-E， 防御天敌，防御或者是防卫的动词叫做 defend，D-E-F-E-N-D。那么天敌这个字要稍微记一下哦 ，predator。P-R-E-D-A-T-O-R， 但是还是有一些人认为啊，他们其实是为了要求偶才会长出这些东西。那么求偶的时候都会求偶做一些展示嘛，这个求偶的展示叫做 mating display，mating display， 也就是现在的鹿长的那两个鹿角。好，接下来我们就看到第二个，这个真的很有名，叫做暴龙哦。那么暴龙的这个单字其实前面就有一个 tyrant。Tyrant 本身就是暴君的意思，所以一开始啊，这个暴君蜥蜴王其实真的不愧他可怕的名字。我们来看一下这个第一句话，中间有一个动词叫做 live up to。live up to 其实就是 be as good as， 跟什么一样好，或者是与什么相称的意思。所以这个暴君蜥蜴王 Tyrant Lizard King跟他的名字 Terrifying Name 其实是蛮相称的。而这个恶名昭彰的恐龙呢，它的下巴 Jaw 其实可以咬碎骨骼哦。我们特别注意一下这个形容词叫做 Notorious。Notorious 恶名昭彰的，在英文当中要特别注意另外一个几乎是同义词叫做 Infamous。I-N-F-A-M-O-U-S， 注意它可不是 famous 的反义词哦，它也是有名，但是是恶名昭彰的，就是 notorious 的意思。好，所以接下来我们来看一下后面的这个咬碎啊，其实就是这个 crunch。crunch 本来会说，比如说饼干呐，或者是什么东西，洋芋片呐，脆脆的 crunchy， 但是动词的 crunch through something 就有把东西咬碎的意思。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's continue to talk about T-Rex. We already talked about Triceratops, and before we listened to our Chinese teacher, we began to talk about Tyrannosaurus Rex, which again was the tyrant lizard king. It lived up to its name, and it had notorious jaws that could crunch through bone. That would be very scary to be bitten by one of them. And it's still fiercely debated whether T-Rex was mainly a hunter or a scavenger. But we do know its keen sense of smell allowed it to locate prey easily. So it's fiercely debated. Okay, we've got these paleontologists from different universities around the world who have written papers about dinosaurs, and some of them say, oh, it was definitely a hunter. And then we've got some other ones saying, no, it was just a scavenger. A hunter, of course, goes out and kills the animals itself and eats them. A scavenger is, I guess, like maybe crows or something, or some
vultures.
Vultures, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Basically, they eat the leftovers that, say, the lions didn't want. The lions ate most of the meat from the antelope or whatever.
Well, and the lion also had to kill the animal originally.
Exactly. And then the lions were full, but they didn't eat everything. So then later on, the buzzards come and they eat the remnants or the leftover parts. That's what a scavenger does. They just kind of eat the leftovers.
Right. After the hunter's done all the big work, they've killed the animal, and, they've eaten the best parts, but the leftovers are there for the scavengers. So we know, though, that it has a keen sense of smell. It had a keen sense of smell. Keen sense of smell just means a very sharp, very accurate, very good sense of smell. More like a dog. I don't think human sense of smell is that great, but a dog has a terrific sense of smell, as you know. And this sense of smell allowed it to locate prey easily. Your prey is the particular animal that you're hunting or chasing after to kill. So we've got two different animals here. One's being hunted, that's the prey. The one that is doing the hunting is the predator. Don't get those mixed up. So moving on to the next dinosaur, the Stegosaurus. Yeah, Yeah, the Stegosaurus is kind of a cool dinosaur. That's another very famous dinosaur. I would say these three at the top of the page, they're the most famous dinosaurs of all. The last dinosaur, to be honest, I've never heard of that one, so that's going to be fun to learn about. And it's huge. Let's take a look at the Stegosaurus, though, first.
Okay.
It lived in the late Jurassic period, 150 million years ago. What else do we know, Tom?
It was quite long. It was 9 meters in length, and the dinosaur's spiky tail would have been useful for self-defense. But its most noticeable trait is the double row of bony plates along its spine. So this particular dinosaur has a really small head, but it has a spiky tail. Its tail has these spikes on it. And I think in the second Jurassic Park movie, it was swinging its tail back and forth, and it almost gored somebody, the hunters there, or maybe Jeff Goldblum, or I'm not sure who. But in any case, it's one of its distinguishing characteristics here, the spiky tail. And yes, they could have used it for self-defense. If the T-Rex was trying to attack it, it could just turn around and swing that tail and stab the T-Rex in the throat or something like that.
Gross.
But, well, its most noticeable trait or characteristic was the double row of bony plates along its spine. So this is a trait here. We did talk about the word characteristic. Trait is basically the same word, or it means the same thing. It's a distinguishing quality or characteristic. You could talk about people having different traits or common traits between people. They all kind of behave the same. Or maybe, again, a person has some good qualities in their personality. They have good traits. You know, they're reliable, they're punctual, they're good friends, etc. Those would be some positive traits.
Yeah, so this was a noticeable one. We learned kind of what you can use. Instead of saying noticeable, you can say prominent, correct? A prominent trait, a noticeable trait, a double row of bony plates. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I thought the tail on this dinosaur was really cool. Whether these were used for protection from other dinosaurs, or maybe those bony plates actually regulated the animal's body temperature. You know, it was so long ago, the scientists can only guess at some of these things, and this is one of those things they're kind of unsure of. They're guessing. So it could have been a way just to keep the dinosaur's body from getting too hot or too cold, to regulate the temperature. Today, if we want to regulate our temperature, we really just adjust the thermostat. So life has changed a lot since prehistoric days. Now, what's our final dinosaur, Tom? This one's different.
This is a fun one here. This, again, is a long name in Latin. Argentinosaurus. Okay, Argentina, of course, is a country in South America, so I guess they found this dinosaur there. And here's when it lived. It lived in the mid to late Cretaceous era, which was, let's see, that was the last part of the Mesozoic era. Remember, you've got the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous there. And so that was about 92 million years ago. It was quite long, 35 meters long. And this was the longest and largest land animal to ever live. And we're describing this as a sauropod, which again is a particular type of dinosaur. And it was discovered by an Argentinian farmer. He was out there in his field minding his own business.
Cool.
And he came across some fossils there.
Ha! No wonder they named this dinosaur after Argentina. Sounds like it was discovered more recently. So, wow. He found one of its leg bones. So, at first, he just thought it was a petrified log instead. Part of an old tree that's petrified, guys. It was once a living animal or plant, but then it turned into stone over time. Petrified, that's what that means. Petrified, just so you know, is also used to talk about being really, really scared or really frightened. Oh, I was petrified during that movie. But here it just means something that's been turned into something like a rock. He just thought it was an old tree, an old log from a tree. Turned out to be a leg bone from a dinosaur. Kind of a fun thing to discover, I'd say.
Indeed. So again, let's talk about some of the traits or characteristics of this particular dinosaur. This plant-eating giant probably had a swaying walk. Okay, it kind of walked left and right as it walked. That's what it means to sway, to kind of move slowly left and right as you walk. And it had a maximum speed of 8 kilometers per hour, which to me doesn't sound very fast. So yeah, if a dinosaur is this big, it's probably not going to move very fast.
No.
But I guess that's still pretty big there. And the T-Rex would probably think twice before trying to attack it. So there you have it, some common species of dinosaur. And of course, there are probably hundreds of other ones that you can read about on your own. But that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to our teacher who's going to speak to you in Chinese.
然而暴龙到底是 hunter 还是食腐动物，现在还是激烈的争辩。激烈争辩这两个字要特别注意一下，争论、争辩、辩论叫做 debate。debate 通常如果是激烈的争论，会用前面的副词叫做 fiercely。但是我们的确很确定的是，它的嗅觉非常的敏锐 ，keen sense of smell， 所以它要找到猎物的话也是很简单。我们刚刚说天敌叫做 predator， 而猎物的话则是 prey，prey。接着我们来看一下第三种，就是剑龙咯。剑龙的话呢，则是它的尾巴充满了尖刺，所以 tail 前面的形容词叫做 spiky，S-P-I-K-Y。这个 spiky 不只是 spiky tail， 有时候叶子尖尖的可以叫做 spiky leaves。当然用来防卫自己，不过最明显的特征呢，还是因为它的脊椎旁边有2排的骨板。这个 double row bony plate， 可是科学家不太确定这些骨板到底是要用来保护自己呢，还是免于其他恐龙的伤害，还是呢要来调节体温。不过在这句话当中，我们看到一开始的 whether 指的是是否，也就是是 A 还是 B， 到底是用来 protection 还是用来 regulation 调节体温呢？最后面我们看到的一种叫做阿根廷龙。阿根廷龙啊，其实是恐龙有史以来最长最大的动物了。不过在这句话当中，我们看一下，我们把最长最大动物 animal 之后加了一个 to do something 不定词当成形容词。To ever live 有史以来活过最长最大的动物。那么当时是有一个阿根廷的农夫发现他的 leg bone 一块腿骨，但是这个腿骨实在是太巨大了，注意非常非常异常的巨大，形容词叫做 gigantic。 好，后面以至于那个农夫他以为发现它是一个木材。我们看到这边有一个 so that 的句型，如此的以至于什么什么结果产生。而这个巨人呢，也就是这个阿根廷龙，走路可能摇摇晃晃，最高的时速大概是每个小时8公里。希望这2天的恐龙你喜欢。我是安娜，我们下次见喽。
Okay, that's it. That brings us to the end of our fascinating discussion about the fascinating world of dinosaurs. And hopefully we kind of got you started on how to discuss paleontology in English. So yeah, we hope you can have some wonderful conversations with people in the future about these ancient creatures. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.